Hello YouTubers, this is cessnaace back again with another video. The first video in a series where I'm going to be showing my entire video and computer game collections, 15 games at a time. Now, I did tease this series in a post that I made at Patreon/cessnaace, and I posted a video with it. And in the video I showed games for the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. But it soon became apparent to me that I hadn't pulled anywhere near all the games that I have for those systems, including, well, I've lost track of how many takes I've done. I need McElligott 42's riding crop. Those of you who watch her channel know what I'm talking about. Alright. I hadn't pulled all the games that I have for the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance. And I hadn't pulled any of the games that I have that are complete in box. So I've elected to begin this series with games that I have for the NES, because I know where all those games are. They're in one central location, except for these that I pulled for this video, and those that are in the box down there. Other than that, they're all in one place, so I know where they all are. Now, all the games that I'm going to be showing in this video fall into one of three categories: Homebrews, Prototype Reproductions, and Hacks. Now, I have more games that fall into those categories than I can show in this one video, so I'm going to have to hold those over to another video. And in fact, I have a lot of games that fall into a fourth category, which is games that were only released for the Famicom in Japan, but were then placed on NTSC standard NES cartridges. I have a ton of those. So I'll probably do those after I do the Homebrews and Prototype Reproductions and Hacks. Alright, and if I didn't already say it, if I have more than one copy of the same game, while I'll show the 2 or 3 copies that I have for that game, I'll only count it once. So after I'm finished with this series, you'll know exactly how many different games I have, because you can go by the number of videos that there are in the series, times 15. Now, I have to thank Guru Larry Bundy Jr., because he pointed me in the direction of Retro USB. They sell Homebrews for the NES. In fact, he had sent me an email, this was several years ago, that he had done the artwork for this game. And I mentioned to him that I was interested in it and I was going to get it. And he said, well, if you want to get an earlier version of the game, go to Retro USB now, because they only have a couple of copies left, and once they're gone, it's going to become unavailable until the new version is available for them to sell. So I rushed over to Retro USB's site. I bought a copy, and as soon as I did that, I went back to Retro USB's site, and it was listed as either out of stock or unavailable, or something along those lines. This series is an homage, if you will, to the Mega Man series. This is Battle Kid, Fortress of Peril. Version 1.000. Copyright 2008 to 2010, made in USA. Cartridge production by RetroZone, retrousb.com. See, that's the thing about Retro USB. With the exception of one game, which I have from them, which I think was Mike Tyson's Intergalactic Power Punch. It had a donor. It was on a donor cartridge, but all their other releases, and that's discontinued, by the way, are on brand new cartridges with brand new boards with a chip called the Cyclone chip, which makes these cartridges compatible with systems that are NTSC, PAL, and CCAM. Now, I don't recall whether they are also compatible with systems like the Retron stuff. I think they were tested on things like the Retro Duo and some other clones. I think they mentioned that with a pin adapter they can be played on a Famicom, but I don't have a pin adapter. I do have a Famicom though, which, if I didn't already say, I'm not going to be jumping around from console to console to console. I am going to show all the games that I currently have for the NES before I go on to another system. Now, no box, in fact no manual for that version. However, well, still no box, but this version does have a manual. This is version 1.100. Other than that, slight little change to the label. That's the only difference on the label, between the two labels. However, if I remember correctly, Larry told me that the primary differences between the two versions that I have is that version 1.100 is slightly easier than the previous version I showed, and some exploits were taken out. Now, he said easier, but he didn't say easy, because this is a hard game. Now, according to the manual, in addition to being an homage to the Mega Man series, it is inspired by an indie game entitled I Want to Be the Guy. So I guess it's not the right reading for that. I Want to Be the Guy. And there's something somewhere in this manual about if you want to keep the cartridge operating properly, don't spit into it. But I'm not going to try and find it right now. Some homebrews have some hilarious text in the manuals. Not saying that one does, but the fact that that game is so hard is why this one is still sealed. This is the sequel, Battle Kid 2, Mountain of Torment. Developed by Civac Games, distributed by Retro USB. Copyright 2010-2012. Explore over 650 rooms, over 20 different enemies, 13 boss battles, 3 special stages, and other bonus features. Built-in death counter. Okay, now the remainder of the games that I have pulled for this video are in 3 stacks. 2 of the stacks are games that are complete in box, and the shortest stack is of loose cartridges, so I'm going to show those before moving on. There's only 3 of these, all from Retro USB, by the way. It's obvious what this is a clone of, from Civac Games, version 1.001. I don't know if there was an earlier version, but anyway, Mystic Pillars. And when I first got this game and did a video on it years ago, I believe I pronounced it Mystic Pillars, which is the way my mind works, or doesn't work, depending on your point of view. I do have more Homebrews from Retro USB that are loose copies and that are out of print, or out of stock, or discontinued, whatever you want to say. And some that are boxed that are discontinued. Anyway, copyright 2008, Chunk Out 2. So, see, I don't just use green cartridges. In fact, I have cartridges that are blue, and I think I have one that's purple. But going back to green, Super NES Snake 2. This is a snake game. No, you're kidding. This is a snake game, which I've recently gotten into that genre. So I wish that Super NES Snake 1 was still available, because it's not. Now, instead of a generic black sleeve, it has a clear sleeve with Retro USB on it. Although it says Retro USB on both sides, so because it's clear, it doesn't exactly read properly. Okay, everything else that I show you in this video is complete in box. Now, this game I got from the NES dump. It is a prototype reproduction, a limited boxed release of War on Wheels. Now, it says 63 on there. Do I want to open it? 63. However, on the cartridge and manual, it says 62. Now, the guy that ran the NES dump was a really nice guy. I wish he hadn't been forcibly shut down by a certain company. But anyway, I contacted him about the fact that the numbers did not match, as far as the numbers on the manual and the cartridge did not match the number on the box. See, this is where my daughter's skills would come in handy, because she does a lot of editing, and my videos need editing, but I've offered to pay her to produce an opening for my channel and a trailer, and she hasn't, even though I've offered to pay her, she hasn't done it yet. She's still editing her own things. Anyway, 63 on the box, 62 on everything else. He offered to send me a flat box, unnumbered, but I told him, well, I suffer from tremors due to a car accident, which left part of my brain bruised, which I take medication for, but it's not always effective. So my hands are sometimes a little wobbly. Now, I could get my wife to do it when she has some free time, but what he did was, in addition to sending me an unnumbered unnumbered flat box, he also sent me another copy. This one, all the numbers match. 66 on the box, manual, and cartridge. Okay, that's 2 games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 5, 7. This one is on a flash cart. It came from Retro USB. Glider, and yes, it's still sealed. They do use sometimes these smaller boxes, which from what I understand were used to publish NES games in some European countries back in the day. And in fact, I have more that are in boxes of this size. Like this one. This is a game that Atari, well, I don't know if Atari was working on it or somebody else was working on it, but it's a prototype that was not finished. Then somebody did finish it, and Retro USB sold it. Tengen, that's who was doing the port of this game. It was mostly finished, but it wasn't completely finished, but now it is completely finished. Notice the box design. Even though it is in the Tengen style, it says RetroZone. I thought so. Cartridge is clear. And now I'm going fully by memory because in all of the takes I've done, I haven't gotten this far before. Complete with manual. Hairball. If I didn't already say, this one has been discontinued. Okay, this next one's in a small box and it's been discontinued. This is a reproduction of a unreleased prototype, but it underwent a name change when it was released by Retro USB. They added, sorry, this cold's driving me crazy, and the tissue's way over there. Anyway, they've added a license to it. I guess they got the license to use her name. Sarah Parker's Pool Challenge. Now, if I remember correctly, this was going to be published by AMV, something like that, American Video. But the return of the green cartridge. It's a pool game, and yes, there are a lot of pool games on the NES. But with the release of this one, the number increased. Okay, this is still sealed. I got it from Retro USB, and it's been discontinued. Nomelos, Storming the Castle, with cat underlined. And so it's Storming the Castle. I forgot all about that. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cartridges, minus 2 duplicates, and that. Okay, this I got from Retro USB in a case. This is a reproduction of an unreleased prototype, a sequel to a game called Go-Go 13. Secret Ties. Now, I don't think they could have gotten away with that cover if they did actually publish the game with that cover. Although I might be mistaken, but I don't think so. Because Vic Tokai was a licensed publisher with Nintendo. Laminated instructions. Okay, this is a reproduction of an unreleased prototype. A shmup from Data East. Top arcade hit. B-Wings. Okay. No manual on that one. So, how many different games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, 3 more. This one was sold from or by Retro USB, but it's been discontinued. Ultimate Frogger Champion. Now, I'm not going to read from the manual, although it's hilarious. But one of the things they mention in here is 5 is the most used word in this manual. That's important. Although a close second place runner would probably be this line. Whenever they refer to Mr. Frog, no relation to the acclaimed Frogger from the game entitled Frogger made by Konami. It must be in there 3 or 4 times that way. The manual goes into electromechanical fields and contacting aliens and all kinds of weird things. Now there is a clone of sorts of Frogger that's currently being sold via Atari Age, I believe for the 2600, called Froggy, which I still intend to get, even though I'm terrible at Frogger, any Frogger. Okay, another one from the NES dump. This is a reproduction of an unreleased prototype, and it's a numbered edition, number 149 of 250. Spy versus Spy, the Island Caper. And yes, the numbers match. Okay. I'll save that shooter for the next video. That shmup. I haven't showed a hack yet. I don't recall whether this is a hack of Super Mario Bros. 3, although I think it is, or Super Mario Bros. 1. But it's called Mario Adventure. And they helpfully say right on the cover, hacked. But it's a cool hack. All new power-ups. Yes, that's right. There are a few brand new power-up suits for Mario to help him on his journey. New enemies. Check out all the cool new minions of Koopa who try to take you down. Coins. There is a new twist on collecting coins. Instead of them giving you extra lives, you can save them up and buy power-ups. Laminated manual. It's a shame the NES dump is no longer with us. I spent so much money there. Okay. How many games? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, I've triple checked on the number of games that I've done. Next time, I'm only going to pull 15 so that I don't run into this problem. Oh, by the way, the votes are pretty much in on the 2 polls that I've got running in the community section of my channel. One had to do with what should the next retro console that I get, what riding crop. I need that riding crop. What retro gaming console should be next on my list to purchase? The options were the Atari XEGS, the Intellivision, or the ColecoVision, or other. No one voted other. By far, the most votes went to the Atari XEGS. Although if you want to vote on that poll, it's still there. The other poll has to do with what kind of videos do you prefer watching on my channel? Do you like the gaming related videos? Do you like the video media related videos like Laserdiscs, VHS, VHD, VCD, DVD, Blu-ray, you name it. Audio format collecting, CDs and vinyl, or comic books and graphic novels. Well, originally, and for several hours, it was running 100% video games only. And then other votes started coming in, and now all of those categories have votes. Video games went from 100% to 80% to 50%. And then the remaining votes were divided up between the other 3 choices. So if you haven't voted in that poll or the other poll, they're both still up if you want to do so. So enough babbling from me. Until next time, stay awesome.